And what will he be known for? Hall of Famer, murderer, father, winner, loser? Well, here it is. OJ Simpson has left this sweet earth. And in his passing, we have an opportunity to look at the journey of this incredible human being. For better or for worse, OJ Simpson. Let's look at his Bazi Astrology. I am filming this on the day that his death was announced. A relatively young man in his mid-70s, but what a life did OJ Simpson live. Welcome. This is Lydia with the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese Astrology channel. Thank you for joining me today. And I will conclude this, so stick with me, that we are going to go all the way through. And at the end, I'll give you an insight as to why this particular year of the dragon may have been too much for his Bazi astrology. So he's born July 9th, 1947. We're going to adjust his time for daylight savings to 7:08 in the morning. And not a surprising chart in some ways. A yin fire pig year, a yin fire sheep month, a yin earth ox day, and a yang earth dragon hour. So you can tell, and I actually printed this one out for you if you want to take a look at it. And it has all my crazy notes, like I tend to do. So, one of the first things that jumped out at me was the fact that there's a lot of earth, to the point of being just around 60% of his chart is earth. So this is a fake follow self. And we see this so many times with celebrities, with famous people, that they have these inflated self elements. And it really speaks of a person that was so much self-centered. And yet this is someone who was brilliant and extremely smart, very innovative and entrepreneurial, creative. But in his chart, there is a strong signature of someone who takes shortcuts, someone likely to cheat, someone likely to cut corners. And yet, ox people, that's what his day is, very much speaks of people that are very hardworking and actually will go the extra mile. There is nothing they cannot do. They will try their best, and extremely physically strong, right? Also, that they're very trustworthy, honest people. Now, there's a shadow side to every astrology character. Hold on a second. I keep my books on the floor right where I can reach them. And, the fact that he is an earth or an ox person, what are the shadow sides? All right. So we've got the dutiful, hardworking, industrious, diligent, trustworthy, hardy ox. The shadow side is intolerance, depressive, proud, egotistical, stubborn, authoritative. It's one of those things that when we have that shadow side within ourselves, and how we make those choices as to whether we're going to be standing in the light or standing in the dark, what we're going to allow ourselves to be. Now, being born in the hour, your hour is kind of like an ascendant, and infuses your personality with additional aspects. And that dragon gives him that magnetic personality. And it also gives him this added boost of confidence as if he needed any more. So this is someone, I was actually expecting to see a rooster for that cockiness, but there is that element of the dragon infusing in here, that is adding that zealousness to personality. And the pig in his year kind of flavors. It's an interesting pairing, really, because the pig is really chilled out, laid back, give me a happy drink, everybody take care of me. I'm enjoying the sensual yumminess of life, and everybody's my friend and everybody loves me. And of course they do, because I've got the dragon hour, which gives me all this happy magnetism, right? But the ox, that day master, is like, oh, hell no, you're not sitting down with a nice drink. Get up and get your work done. So there's that tug of war within himself. This is an earth pattern chart. Interesting that it's 2 yin. We saw that with Bruce Willis, Johnny Depp, 2 yin. Very interesting to see a man as looking so masculine as having a chart that's 2 yin, and knowing that his father was a well-known drag queen. He was raised by a single mom, and I'm sure you've seen documentaries about OJ Simpson. He's a very interesting person, an interesting story. Whether you like him or don't like him, it's really just look at this guy's story. I find him very interesting. All right, so in addition to that, we've got, again, just about 60% of the 5 elements are sitting on his earth. And fire is balanced at 23%, so he's reinforced. And altogether, you've got over 80% of his energy is wrapped up in what supports him and himself, his audience, his playing field, his stage. There's hardly any metal. There's hardly any water. Well, about 10%. And hardly any wood, maybe around 7%. So it really leans out of balance. Now, as you go through this man's life, it is a very interesting read. So stick with me, because like I said, at the end, I'm going to explain a little bit about where we see end of life. And this particular one I find very interesting. So let's unpack. His first luck cycle was when he was still an infant, which shows the stress his mother was under. Typically, when we go through our first luck cycle change as an infant, it means like either we were very sick as a child, maybe possibly nearly died. Maybe the mother went through postpartum depression, or went back to work, or in some other way wasn't available. Maybe she's pregnant and taking care of a new baby. Maybe there's a divorce, which we know happened for him in his youth, and an absence of a father, the splitting up of the parents, all of these things. So it usually is a major event that or illness that sets the stage for that first energetic shift. And even as the mom is no longer like as close as she could have been, the mom was dominant in those first 9 years of his upbringing, and actually all the way through until he's about 20 years old. She has a very strong influence in his life. And OJ really, those first 9 years, very impressionable young man as far as schooling goes, and having a lot of friends, and feeling very confident early on in himself. Like some people just come into their life, and within that right away, as little kids, you see them. You've met a little kid that's like, wow, that kid really knows who he is right from the beginning, and that's something to see. I absolutely love chatting with young kids, and And some children just have that. Now, it is important to note that this first luck cycle mirrors his life pillar, but it's in void. Also, his month is in void, which kind of helps explain the instability with his parents and the loss of his relationship with his father being fragmented and all of that upheaval. When we have a void in the pillars, it really speaks of those relationships being physically or emotionally distant. Yeah. And then we look at the interaction of this yang fire horse blasting all this fire into his chart, which is creating an even greater imbalance. The horse and the sheep make a semi-fire trio, while the horse harms the ox, his own day pillar, which weakens wood, which is like, there's hardly any wood to weaken. So anyway, then we move on and we've got, the high school kid, he's getting into trouble. What's going on? This is a yin wood snake. So we've got a lot of fire, a lot of wood going on. And the snake battles with his year of the pig. And throughout this 10 years of 10 to 19, there is a battle between water and fire. Now remember, water isn't so weak. There's about 10, 12%. So there is some play here as far as challenge to what's supporting him. And with that yin wood is bringing in really challenging situations. This is when he was involved in a gang. There's legal stuff mentioned, being arrested, right? Also, again, his mom is still playing a role. There's a lot of rebellion, acting out, and change. And he's now going through kind of an identity shift. Who am I? What am I doing, right? Now we get to 1967. He's winning the Heisman Trophy. He's a Hall of Famer football kid. This guy rose to fame. Good looking. Thank you for bringing in that dragon hour to ensure all that sex appeal, right? And magnetism. And this really was Yang Wood Dragon. It's just like this year 2024. Bringing in a focus on family, duty. He was married by this point and had children and lost a child in a drowning accident. This is, so there's that whole being dutiful, responsible, taking care of the family, the job. There's playing new roles because he's a Hall of Famer. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's also getting into acting at this point. And the role of father and possibly reconciling his relationship with his father. There's also tucked into this some shifts and changes with his career, which was happening. Now we get into things getting a little more interesting, right? So now it's 1977. He's in his 30s now. It's a yin water rabbit. This is bringing all the energy that has been focused on fire and earth into new elements. And when you have a chart that is this imbalanced, you don't want those weak elements showing up. You want to continue to support the imbalance, as odd as that seems. Sometimes there just is no way when a chart is like this to find the balance. It's not achievable. So here he is inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. And with this, it's very interesting. This rabbit harms his dragon. And Oh, yeah. It harms the dragon, weakening Earth, bringing in, there's both a full wood trio and a seasonal semi trio in this. There's a huge amount of wood coming in during this time, which is really highlighting his career. And interesting that during this time, because wood is the enemy of the earth, right? Because wood controls earth. So there is some controlling of the earth and weakening of it, which in this case is okay because that wood surging in is also going to nourish the fire, which nourishes the earth, cycle of the elements, right? So stick with me on this. So there's a lot of this wood energy. I think that this actually was an interesting time for him. You know, now he's getting into, you know, a real shift in his career, a major shift in his career. He's moving away from football. He's getting more into acting. You know, he was in those Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen, right? And he's making money all kinds of different ways, dating, having affairs, because he was having an affair when he got together with Nicole Brown Simpson, but we're not quite there quite yet. Stick with this. So, yeah, so there's just, you know, he's getting money. It's coming in from all different directions, all the different things he's involved with, lots of different projects at this point. Now, I forgot to mention, please subscribe and follow if you find this of interest. And if you're curious about your own Bazi astrology, I will put, you know, the links in the description so that you can order your own. These charts are so amazing to me, how the accuracy is amazing. So that's one of the reasons I go through these luck cycles that we all go through according to our birthday and time. This is how we can start to piece together our own lives and why certain things happened when they did. I did this with my own chart years and years ago, of course, and it was fascinating to me. When I went through the luck cycles, oh my God, that's when this happened. Oh, wow, that's when that happened. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so he's getting into more acting. This is a real shift for him. We're now going to move into 1987. This is when shit gets real. We have a Yang water tiger. The energy has shifted. We are looking at marriage. This is really highlighting his marriage like no other time. This relationship with Nicole Brown Simpson, and maybe I'll do her chart next so that we can see what exactly was going on with these two, because apparently it was one of those obsessive, do or die love affairs, crazy, passionate in love, passionate in fighting, passionately codependent on each other, and it's just really unhealthy situation. So we're looking now at this focus on marriage, on success, fame, moving, travel, luxury, all that life. Also focusing on his relationship with his daughters, family, his work. His mom is mentioned. I don't know, maybe she died during that time. There's also mention of siblings and his father. So maybe there was something going on during this period with his family. Oh, so then, and I remember, do you remember that trial? Jeez Louise, man. You know, it's kind of like you see somebody for all these years, advertisements, all the ads that he was doing, his whole career, we watched it. This incredible Black man, so successful, so powerful. And then that murder. Wow. That murder trial, when he was acquitted, I remember jumping up screaming, no. Yeah. Great injustice there. Anyway, deep breaths. 1994 was that trial in the summer, and that was a year of a Yang Wood dog. Get this. The dog, he's already got a dragon, an ox, and a sheep in his chart. Now we have the fourth animal, earth animal in the zodiac. This dog is banging up against his hour, affecting his relationship with his children, tanking his career, and creating a full punishment with all those earth zodiac animals. And with that it's like your life force is so drained by the stress of what is going on around you. So, and this is very much a year that was challenging his own identity, bringing in the support of legal action and the support from that. This also is boosting his earth while weakening fire, the support, and weakening water, his finances. So this is a financial hit. This is a hit of support. This is, but at the same time, he is still strong in himself. He's acquitted. How? All right. So we're going to jump all the way to 2007. That was the luck cycle when he was 60 years old, 60 to 69, when he was arrested for the armed robbery in that hotel room, which is kind of crazy that that's what he wound up going to jail for. But, you know, I guess karma has to come around how karma comes around, right? And this is a yang metal rat. This is interesting because this really has shifted his chart to where it is more about his actions and what he is doing. This is a rebellious period of his life, more so than, interestingly enough, any other time in his life. This was changeable, transformative, radical, rebellious, reckless, bad decision making. And with that, making extra money, having affairs, health issues. And so he's arrested in 2007, the very start of this luck cycle that brought in a full water trio and a semi-water trio, both a seasonal and a traditional water trio. This is significant. All of that water coming into his chart, challenging the chart's pattern, so that by the time he comes out of this, it's now 2017, and he's released from jail after 9 years. Interesting that almost all of that luck cycle, he was in jail. And then we come to the current luck cycle, which is a yin earth pig. And again, we have this watery yin earth speaking specifically to him, the water and the wood. The fact that he was diagnosed with cancer is not surprising. I've mentioned before that charts that are too hot and dry or too cold and damp breed cancer. Also, this is also an interesting piece because we're wrapping up now. We're going to get to the day that he's died, the death announced today. I would imagine that he was dying actively yesterday, day of the dog. Today is the day of a snake. Now, when we have lived our life, in the course of our life, our emotions are directly tied to our health. If we have unprocessed grief, don't be surprised if you don't have issues around bronchitis, pneumonia, lung cancer, broken-hearted people that aren't able to recover from that, especially ones that become bitter and angry and resentful. Broken heart, heart attack, heart condition. Cancer is when something is festering and has not been resolved. You look at this man's life, there is so much. The story of racism, the story of his father, the story of his mother, deaths of children, siblings, the murder of his beautiful wife, and other acts that he did. I would imagine that his 9 years in jail, under the surface of him, what he was presenting to the world and in his jail cell, and is a person who has got that whole story inside himself festering. Interesting that it turns into prostate cancer, because the prostate is associated with which element? Water. Okay, so in a lot of ways, this cancer is that battle that began in the previous luck cycle. So if you ask me, I'm sure that cancer was already active during that luck cycle when all that water was waving in, aggravating the earth, challenging the earth element. So the day he died is, we're in a Yang month, a Yang wood dragon year, a Yang earth dragon month, and a Yang wood dog day, dragon day. Triple dragon it was on Wednesday, the 10th of April. Now, they announced his death today on the 11th of April, 2024, which is a yin wood snake. And I'm telling you, I think that man's soul was already checked out and ready to go yesterday. 3 dragons. It's a lot of earth. And with all of that earth, it just becomes an overwhelm. And even though it is an earth pattern, and even though that earth pattern is associated with himself, ultimately, the seed was planted in the previous luck cycle with all that water, creating the container, the condition in which he's going to have this prostate cancer. And he's released from prison in 2017. And here we go with this cancer bringing it all to a close. The other elements simply cannot hang on when the balance is completely lost. And at this long mark, I say thank you for sticking with me for the full story of OJ Simpson. Deep breaths. I'm sorry to his family, for those that are sorry or saddened by his loss. And until next time, be well.